Good morning, welcome to CATEX-TV. My name is Frank Fortunato. This is a live broadcast from Princeton, New Jersey. Today is Friday, January 22nd, 2010. It's 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time in the U.S., 4:30 p.m. in London. In Mexico City, it's 10:30 a.m. If you need to reach us during the broadcast, you can phone in toll-free at 1-866-67-CATEX. Overseas, our AOL instant mail address is CATEX-TV. A little programming note, Tuesday or Wednesday of next week, we'll be interviewing Eduardo Betancourt, who's the CEO of the newly licensed broker called MAG-RE in Mexico City. Mr. Betancourt put out a press release yesterday announcing his licensure of the CATEX Pivot Point transaction system. So we'll talk to him. Before we get to the main news, there are two stories that are not necessarily insurance related, but of some import. The first is that yesterday President Obama came very close to talking about reinstituting the Glass-Steagall Act, separating banking from investment, from insurance, and going back to putting the financial community into their respective boxes. The outcry from the banking community, predictably, has been one of great horror. Just before we came on the air, the international banking community has begun to weigh in. The German Banking Association slammed the president's proposals. However, Chancellor Merkel in Berlin said that they're in line with what she's trying to do regulatory-wise in reforming their system. So more will be revealed on that. On another front, at the other end of Washington, up at the top of Pennsylvania Avenue, the U.S. Supreme Court came in with a very interesting decision, saying that First Amendment freedom of speech rights in the United States do not require the banning of political contributions from companies. So now what will happen, companies will be able to inject as much money as they wish to support individual candidates who suit them. So this is potentially a decision with very, very dramatic downstream ramifications, and could conceivably change the whole way the government runs in this country. Instead of having the senator from Seattle, you'll have the senator from Microsoft. Instead of having the senator from Connecticut, you'll have the senator from General Electric, and so on. Not a good result. Now we'll go to our main news for the day. The main news, again, back in Haiti, just about an hour and a half ago, a 4.4 aftershock shook the island. If you look over to the left here, it's the lower blue box. That's the one that occurred this morning at about 8:10 a.m. This is after two fairly substantial earthquakes yesterday. The two other blue boxes, a 4.9 and a 4.8 struck. And you see they're all striking in that same general area around Port-au-Prince. News reports are indicating now that hundreds of thousands of Haitians are trying to get out of Port-au-Prince, trying to get away from what they deem to be appropriately so an earthquake zone. The relief effort is still gearing up. People are actually being fed to some extent. The tragedy is such, though, that it's going to take many, many, many weeks, if not months, until we find out the true extent of the death toll. Toyota issued a major recall yesterday, saying that a mechanical problem could cause the gas pedals to stick and result in unwanted acceleration in 2.3 million of its cars. Most of the vehicles that were affected by the new recall were also included in the recall last year of vehicles involving floor mats that Toyota claimed could jam the accelerator pedal open. Yesterday, though, for the first time, the Japanese car maker acknowledged that a mechanical problem, not just the floor mats, could cause the cars to accelerate out of control. Sean Kane, president of Safety Research and Strategy, said in the past, Toyota's unequivocally said that the floor mats are the problem. Now they're suddenly finding something else to blame. The New York Times reports that at least 19 people have been killed in U.S. accidents involving runaway Toyotas and Lexuses, more than all other automakers combined. It also found that complaints about unintended acceleration rose sharply after 2001, when Toyota began installing electronic throttle controls. Safety experts say there is evidence to suggest that malfunctions by these electronic controls, known as drive-by-wire, may be a factor in the rising complaints. Toyota said, "We've not found any problems with the throttle control system that would lead to sudden acceleration." Incredibly, Toyota led all car makers in the total number of vehicles recalled in the U.S. last year, a first for the Japanese automaker. James Bell, the executive market analyst at the research firm Kelley Blue Book, said the situation is slowly spiraling out of control for them. As a company with a reputation for steadiness and quality, these must be uncomfortable days at Toyota. The recall yesterday affects the 2005 to 2010 Avalon, the 2007 to 2010 Camry, the best-selling car in the U.S., the 2009 to 10 Corolla, the 2010 Highlander, the 2009 to 10 Matrix, and the 2008 to 10 Sequoia. So Toyota's got a little work to do, and I do too, because I own a 2007 Camry. Willis made some news. They've extended the contract of Joe Plumeri, the chairman and CEO. He was going to expire in April 2011, but he's going to stay on until July of 2013. The Willis board said under Joe's leadership, Willis has advanced its competitive position around the world and successfully navigated the strong headwinds of the continuing soft insurance market and the global economic downturn. This was hardly an unexpected story. Mr. Plumeri has done an outstanding job at Willis, and he's a local New Jerseyan. Here's a very interesting story concerning a friend of ours, Karen Clark. Karen Clark was the founder of Applied Insurance Research some 15 or 20 years ago, and developed that company into a global titan of modeling. She recently reemerged as president and owner of the Karen Clark and Company, which is an independent expert in cat risk, cat models, and cat risk management. She released an annual report on the performance of near-term hurricane models the other day. Her report finds that the models designed to project insured losses in the U.S. from hurricanes have significantly overestimated losses for the cumulative 2006 through 2009 seasons. Last year's annual report issued by Ms. Clark found the same result for the 2006 through 2008 seasons. Now, near-term models were introduced by the three major cat modelers, including AIR, back in 2006, following the destructive 2004 and 2005 earthquake seasons. AIR, Risk Management Solutions, and EquiCat initially projected insured loss levels about 35% above the long-term average for the period 2006 through 2010. AIR did lower its figure down to about 16% above the long-term average back in 2007. However, assuming long-term average annual insured hurricane losses of $10 billion a year, these figures actually translate into cumulative insured losses for 2006 through 2009 of about $50 billion, $55 billion, and $55 billion respectively for all three of the models. However, the actual cumulative losses were only a little over $13 billion, about one-third the long-term cumulative average. The 2009 Atlantic hurricane season was below average in the number of named storms, and it was the lowest frequency year since '97. Clark said, "This latest study further supports our," presumably the Karen Clark and Company, not AIR, "our previous findings that a short-term horizon is not sufficient for credibly estimating insured losses from hurricane." She said use of the near-term models by insurance and reinsurance companies, which are based on short-term assessments, was a radical departure from the way in which cat average annual losses and probable maximum losses are typically derived. She's probably correct, and it's probably a very good observation, and frankly, if someone like me sitting here in Princeton can throw stones at glass houses, or however that metaphor works, it takes an awful lot of courage for Karen Clark to stand up and say the right thing, even though some people might raise questions as we just did. But bully for her, so to speak. Good for her. Warren Buffett made the news yesterday on Fox Business Network. He said that, in fact, it was proper for the insurance and investment holdings Gen Re subsidiary of his to pay a $92 million fine to settle federal charges over the company's role in the sham reinsurance deals with AIG that allowed companies like AIG to artificially inflate its financial records. Buffett said, quote, "We did something wrong and we paid the price. It shouldn't have been done, and there's nothing inappropriate about the fine we paid, so I have no problem with it." Under the settlement, Gen Re agreed to pay $60 million to AIG